Ladies and gentlemen, we have two significant storylines coming out of the Cleveland Browns organization today that deserve complete and honest examination, and both of them reveal something important about where this franchise stands and how it is being managed at this particular moment in what has become one of the most closely watched and most publicly contested organizational situations in the entire NFL. So let us build this out properly, layer by layer, because both stories carry weight and both stories connect to the larger narrative that has been developing throughout this entire offseason. The first story involves a draft night trade offer that the Cleveland Browns declined, and it is a decision that the full context of what happened during that draft makes significantly easier to evaluate than it might appear in isolation. The Dallas Cowboys approached the Cleveland Browns during draft night and offered a trade centered on the number 9 overall pick. Under the terms of that offer, the Cowboys would have received both the 9th pick and the 24th pick from Cleveland. In return, the Browns would have received the 12th pick, the 20th pick, and a 5th-round selection. On the surface, acquiring 2 picks in exchange for 2 picks while adding a 5th-round selection might sound like reasonable value accumulation. But Andrew Berry looked at that offer and said no. And when you examine what the Browns actually did with the 9th pick, when you understand specifically what player was available at that slot and what he represents for the franchise quarterback this entire draft was built around, Berry's decision to decline becomes not just defensible but obviously correct in ways that the full picture makes impossible to argue with honestly. Spencer Fano was available at number 9. The most athletic offensive tackle in the entire draft class. The player who did not allow a single sack during his entire college career at Utah. The player who ranked at the top of virtually every protection metric among NCAA offensive tackles with 800 or more snaps. The player Todd Monken specifically identified as the left tackle who will protect Shedeur Sanders' blindside heading into the 2026 season. That player was available at 9, and Berry kept the pick and took him. Had Cleveland accepted the Cowboys' offer, they would have been working with the 12th pick and the 20th pick instead. The New York Giants selected an offensive tackle at 10th overall. That means had Cleveland moved down to 12 as part of this trade, there is a legitimate and serious possibility that the player they identified as the foundation of their blindside protection for their franchise quarterback would have been gone. The Giants might have taken Fano at 10, which would have left Cleveland holding 2 picks in the middle of the first round without the specific player their entire offensive construction plan was built around acquiring. Berry identified this. He saw the risk of moving down. He understood that the value of the 9th pick was not abstract draft capital that could be easily replicated at 12 or 20. The value of the 9th pick was specifically Spencer Fano, and Fano was worth more to the Cleveland Browns' offensive infrastructure than any combination of lower picks the Cowboys were offering could replicate. You cannot replace the right player with more picks at lower slots if the right player gets taken before you make your selection. The fan reaction to this decision has been overwhelmingly supportive of Berry's choice, which itself reflects something meaningful about how Cleveland Browns fans have evolved in their understanding of what this front office is building and why. The consensus emerging from the fan community is clear. The Cowboys did not offer enough. An extra 5th-round pick does not compensate for the risk of losing the specific first-round talent that this franchise needed at this specific position. And the Cowboys, by structuring an offer that assumed Cleveland would accept middling value for a top 10 asset, appear to have underestimated the organizational clarity and conviction with which Berry and his staff approached this draft. Shame on the Cowboys for thinking the Browns were that easy to take advantage of. They were not. And the results of what Cleveland built during this draft, the comprehensive offensive infrastructure assembled around Shedeur Sanders, reflect the quality of the thinking that rejected that trade offer. Now let us move to the second story, because it is in many ways more immediately significant for where this quarterback situation stands right now and what the Browns are communicating through the footage and the images they have chosen to release. The Cleveland Browns released workout pictures and footage from Monday's offseason workout session, and the imagery coming out of that release is telling a story that deserves careful and honest reading. The footage shows Todd Monken present at the workout, which is itself meaningful as a signal of coaching staff engagement with the offseason process. Other players visible in the released content include Dylan Gabriel and what appears to be Luke Farrell. And then there is the image that stands out from everything else. Shedeur Sanders, working out individually, wearing no pads, and still wearing the helmet camera. That helmet camera detail is not trivial. That is the same evaluative tool that Todd Monken deployed during minicamp when Sanders was first in 11-on-11 drills, the same tool that captures the quarterback's field of vision and his decision-making process in real time, the same tool that reflects the depth of coaching staff investment in understanding precisely how this young signal caller thinks and processes the game. The fact that Sanders is still wearing that camera during what appears to be a mandatory minicamp workout session tells you that the evaluation process is ongoing, that Monken is still gathering data, and that the commitment to understanding and developing this specific quarterback has not diminished by a single degree despite all of the organizational noise and media controversy that has surrounded this situation. But here is the detail that the released footage is communicating in ways that the Browns organization almost certainly understands will generate exactly the kind of analytical attention it is receiving right now. The pictures show a quarterback battle that is still ongoing. Not resolved. Not declared. Still active, still competitive, still being evaluated through the kind of daily football work that eventually produces the clear organizational verdict that Todd Monken committed to delivering before the end of camp. This is the Browns sending a message through their own content release, and the message is deliberate. They are communicating to the media landscape that has been declaring this competition over in various ways and in various directions depending on whose narrative any given outlet is serving, that the competition is not over, that the evaluation process is still underway, and that the declaration of a starting quarterback will come when Todd Monken decides it comes and not one moment before. That is organizational communication through imagery rather than through press release language, and it reflects a front office and coaching staff that understand how to use information strategically during a period of intense external scrutiny. Now there is a notable absence in the released footage and imagery from this workout that deserves direct acknowledgement, because absence is itself a form of communication in an environment where every detail is being examined for what it reveals about the state of this roster. Myles Garrett does not appear in any of the released photos from this session. This is mandatory minicamp. Not voluntary. Mandatory.
This is exactly what they wanted. They wanted Fano, and they committed to him. It's like it's a pick swap at a 5th-round pick. That nobody should take that trade.
And the other part of this, I think this is maybe where me and you get to go ahead and say thank you for listening. They had Andrew Berry really expressing the idea that he wanted Fano, Mawanoa, or Tyson. And so the idea that he really did like Tyson. Now, we'll never know if he was going to take Tyson at 9 and Tyson got nabbed at 8 and it just was too much. But what we did learn in this little exchange and what we found out is that he wanted one of those 3 players. That was it. And so, that's a big win for the Tyson community.
And dare I say, he kind of reacted when Tyson was off the board. Like you could tell, it was like a damn. I thought we thought we were gonna have our choice of Tyson and Fano. The amount of flowers Andrew Berry's getting for turning down this trade down with Dallas of see, this is
The distinction matters enormously because the contractual and organizational implications of missing mandatory activities are fundamentally different from the implications of missing voluntary ones. Players who miss mandatory minicamp face fines. They face the kind of formal organizational consequences that missing voluntary activities does not trigger. And the fact that Garrett, the most significant defensive player on this roster and a player whose engagement level has been a subject of ongoing concern and ongoing speculation throughout this entire offseason, does not appear in any of the footage the Browns chose to release from a mandatory workout session is a data point that cannot be ignored or explained away with the kind of casual dismissal that voluntary absences sometimes receive. The Myles Garrett conspiracy, if that is the right word for a situation that has moved well beyond simple speculation into something supported by a consistent pattern of observable behavior, involves the persistent question of whether Cleveland is looking to move on from him through a trade or some other form of roster transition. That conversation exists. It has been building throughout this offseason based on exactly the kind of absence pattern and behavioral signals that the latest footage release does nothing to quiet. And until the organization either produces clear and definitive evidence of Garrett's full engagement with this team or makes an organizational decision about his future that removes the uncertainty, the question will continue generating exactly the kind of attention and speculation that the Browns appear to be trying to manage rather than resolve through transparent and direct communication. The broader media conversation around this quarterback competition has reached an interesting and revealing inflection point. Baltimore Ravens affiliated media is now reporting on the Watson versus Sanders battle, which reflects the AFC North-wide attention that this story has attracted and the competitive intelligence value that division rivals see in monitoring everything happening inside the Cleveland Browns organization as they prepare to face them during the 2026 season. When teams around your division are tracking your quarterback competition with enough interest to publish their own coverage of it, the internal organizational dynamics of that competition are no longer a private matter that can be managed through careful content release and measured press conference language. Tony Grossi weighed in on the situation as well, and deserves credit for one specific aspect.
My opinion that Watson will prevail. That's not the coach's opinion or a source's opinion. It's my opinion. That's what I do. I believe if he's healthy, he'll be a better version of himself than we've seen yet. Now, that doesn't mean he's a MVP candidate,
right?
Like he was in his heyday at Houston. I don't know if he'll ever be that quarterback again. But I think he, physically, if he's healthy, he's in his best shape, according to everyone. Mentally, he's in a good shape, to get over everything that went down the pike. And we have a new offensive system and coach who I think respects what he
of how he handled his commentary. He explicitly identified what he was saying as his opinion rather than presenting it as reported fact. That distinction, which has been at the center of the entire Mary Kay Cabot controversy that has consumed so much of this story's recent oxygen, represents exactly the kind of journalistic transparency that the Cleveland media environment needs more of and that this situation has exposed as far less common in practice than professional journalism ethics would require it to be. When a reporter identifies their assessment as opinion, readers can calibrate accordingly. They know they are receiving one informed observer's interpretation of available information rather than a factual account of what is actually happening inside the organization. That clarity allows them to integrate the commentary into their own understanding of the situation without being misled about its nature. Tony Grossi did that today. It is worth noting because it represents the standard that should be the baseline for everyone covering this franchise. The full picture that today's developments paint is one of an organization actively managing its information environment during a period of intense external scrutiny, making deliberate choices about what to release and what to withhold, and using the content it does release to communicate specific messages about where the competition stands and how the evaluation process is progressing.
I think you said this before. You do want to have a starting quarterback on your team that is on your depth chart number one before training camp, correct?
Would love to.
Okay, you would love to. You're not necessarily stuck in cement on that idea then.
Well, I would love to have that. I'm not there yet, so I can't say that. We've been on the field 3 practices, which was awesome to get out there with our players. I was talking to Carson yesterday. He said, feels so weird that we got from phase 1 to get on the field, and then now we're back off for 3 weeks. But it's always changing based on what you see. I don't have a history with any of our players. I know where this is heading. But I don't have a history with any of the players. They're all external to me. Just like when I interviewed coaches for the coordinator position, there was no internal candidates. I wasn't here. They're all external to me. So all the players are external other than Tylan Wallace, who was with us. So at the point is, what I've seen after 3 days, okay, that gives us a little bit of a 40,000-foot view of where we're at, but that can change. Once we get back on the field for 4 weeks at the end of this spring, we'll have a better idea then. But there's only so many reps you get. You've got to start to target towards who's going to start opening day. And now that can still change. And that can change even if someone's getting 2/3 of the reps, and someone getting 1/3 of the reps, because you're still going to play preseason games. You're still going to want to see those guys at quarterback and see how they play.
The trade-off or rejection speaks to a front office that knows what it values and will not be talked out of it by offers structured around underestimating Cleveland's organizational intelligence. The workout footage speaks to an ongoing evaluation process that the coaching staff is managing on its own timeline rather than on the timeline demanded by media speculation or organizational impatience. The Garrett absence speaks to an unresolved roster situation that the organization has not yet addressed with the directness and the transparency it ultimately requires. And Shadur Sanders, photographed alone in his workout gear still wearing the helmet camera that his coaching staff placed on him to capture every football thought he is during his development process, speaks to a young quarterback who is still showing up, still doing the work, still giving the coaching staff everything they need to make the evaluation they have committed to completing before the end of camp. But because of what it says about the competitor, he is still there. Still working. Still wearing the camera. Still investing in his development even as everything around him swirls with organizational complexity and media controversy and ownership-level dynamics that he cannot fully control and that no young quarterback should have to navigate in the middle of trying to establish himself as an NFL starter. He is still there. The camera is still running. And the evaluation will conclude before the end of camp exactly as Todd Monken promised. Everything else is noise. And the noise is getting louder precisely because the signal underneath it is pointing clearly and unmistakably toward one conclusion that certain people in and around this organization are not ready to accept. But ready or not, the end of camp is coming. And Todd Monken's promise with it.